human resource specialists, financial analysts, right? But all these are not in the current form. They're going to be shifted, right? And here's some of the emerging skills, some things that Chaminda alluded to. Emotional intelligence. More important today in a world of automation, that we bring these human skills right to the front. And these are emerging skills that are essential. I'll skip this for a second. And so there was a survey conducted by the World Economic Forum saying, okay, you want to adopt all these technologies companies, what's stopping you? And 74% said it's the skills gap in the local labor market. 58% said because the companies don't understand the opportunities. Almost 50% said there's a skills gap in leadership. So that's demand is certainly there. So let's take a shallow dive into AI. And I say shallow dive because, I can't explain all of AI in 5 minutes, right? But let me try and demystify some terms for you. So these are two of my robots in the AI Innovation Lab at RMIT, which I launched this year. One of them is called Junior, the humanoid robot, and the dog is called Bom Bom. Why Bom Bom? Because my 4-year-old called it Bom Bom. That's why, right? You never argue with a 4-year-old. So what is AI? So the perception, and think of AI, we think of this guy, Terminator. Right? These robots is going to come and take over the world, destroy humanity. Well, whilst they make great movies and inspire us as AI researchers, the reality is it's really about enhancing and extending human abilities. Right? We're creating AI to help us, not to get rid of us in some sense. So in a nutshell, it's intelligent automation. So you might say, well, John, what's the difference? Automation, intelligent automation. Let me give you a very quick example. Say I walk into a house, my house, and my light turns on. Is that intelligent? No. And we can argue this, but really it's a sensor, right? It's a sensor, you come in, it turns on, yeah, it's cool. It's not really intelligent. But if I walk into my house after a long, hard day at work, dealing with people like Chaminda and Tom, Reshmi, and all these guys at RMIT, hard work, and I'm tired. But as soon as I walk in, the house detects that. It reasons about that. It doesn't turn the lights full blast, because that would annoy me. It dims it. Plays my favorite music, tries and settles me down a little bit. Now that's intelligent, right? Now that is intelligent automation. So that's really what I'm talking about when I say intelligent automation. The other term we hear about is machine learning, right? Who's heard of machine learning? Oh, of course you heard of machine learning, right? A buzzword. So let me try and demystify that a little bit. So as the term suggests, machine learning is about training machines to classify some data, right? It's a computer, it needs data, right? So let me give you an example as to what that means. So let's say I show you an image, this image, and I ask you what animal that is. What would you say? Come on. No. A dog. Yeah. How do you know it's a dog? Is it your dog? No, actually it's my mom's dog. Given that Shaminda took the liberty of featuring 4 generations of Rama singers, I thought I'll feature the pets of Thangarajahs. So that's our dog. And you know it's a dog, even though it's not your dog. And I showed you this picture next. And I asked you, what's that? That's a dog, also my mom's dog, not the dog. And so on. Now, you haven't seen these dogs, but you know it's a dog. What's that? Is that a dog? No. What is it? A kangaroo. Right? And how do you know that? Is that your kangaroo? No, but you know it's not a dog and it's a kangaroo, right? You haven't said that. Based on what? Features, right? You learn over time what a dog looks like. If I ask you exactly what makes a dog, you can't tell. Is it the ears, is it the face? It doesn't matter. As humans, we learn these things, right? We learn patterns and we learn how to classify things. So we could do the same thing with machines. I could feed these images into what we call a classifier or a machine learning algorithm and train it. Right? So that the next time I show my friend's dog, no, not dog, my friend's dog, the system can say, hey, yes, is that a dog or not? Well, yeah, it's a dog to 95% confidence levels. This is what machine learning can do. So then you might say, well, John, we're not going to save the nation by classifying dogs and cats, right? But let's take that a bit further. The example I put with the retina scan. Imagine I could feed in, instead of the pictures of dogs, I could feed in pictures of medical images and say, here's what a cancer cell looks like. What's a healthy tissue look like? And we can then build classifiers that will help doctors like my friend Anil over here to help them identify early enough cancer, diabetes, and really help them solve some of these problems that we have in getting specialist healthcare into rural areas in particular. Right? So we can use AI. It's a very powerful tool. So I hope I've given you a little bit of flavor of AI and machine learning. Yeah? So where did we come from? When we started early AI back in the 50s, 60s, it's not new. I know you hear about it now, it's not new. 50s, 60s, when the likes of John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, Alan Turing, when they coined the term AI, it was really about matching humans. And we got obsessed with playing chess and beating the humans and so on. Right? But soon we gave that up, so that's all fine, but really, where we are today is this, assistive AI, where we're helping humans. Autonomous cars, robots that are personal robots, robot cleaners, our smartwatches, all of that is really about helping us humans, assisting us. Where we're starting to emerge is the true power of AI. That is when we humans, who are absolutely amazing, we are brilliant. We are. The pattern recognition, I can show you 3 images and you can figure out what that looks like the 4th time. A machine can't do that. You've got to feed a machine thousands and thousands of images and training. So what we've learned here is we should team up with the human. Bring those human qualities that we have, that's amazing, the creativity, the emotional intelligence, the social intelligence, team that up with the computational power of machines, and you have a superhero. Why do I say that? Who knows Iron Man? How does Iron Man function on the back end? Jarvis. Is Iron Man any good without Jarvis? No. Would Jarvis exist without Iron Man? No, but put them together, you get a superhero. Right? And that's really the power of AI or the human-AI symbiosis or human-machine teams. So where are we going with this? It's what I call the human-machine co-evolution. Right? What that means is we'll adapt to work with machines, and the machines adapt to work with us. Right? It's a true evolution. In many ways, that's what we do now, right? Dinner table on the phone. Right? So in some sense, they're evolving, but we must evolve the right way. So the other aspect of this, of course, when we talk about AI, is the ethical and societal issues. Here's an example. Let's say I have a self-driving car, and if I go straight, I can't stop. The brakes are gone. Right? If I go straight, I will hit those pedestrians, they'll all die. If I swerve, I'll hit the barrier, and the passengers will die. What should the car do? Swerve, who should you keep? It's a tough question, right? I don't have the answer either. Right? But when we create machines that think for themselves, these are questions that you guys start thinking about. So it's not just about the tech questions. It's not about the machine learning algorithms. There's also other aspects that you've got to start thinking about. Right? And we need some policies and regulations to regulate it. Same thing with autonomous weapons. Should we allow it? Right? So things to think about. So that's all about AI. Will robots eat my job? Well, there is a website that is called Will Robots Take My Job.com. So I went in there and I put in 2. Nurse, well, no, you're not going to lose your job. If you're an accountant, good chance you'll lose your job. But it's not really about losing your job, right? It just means that your job will be very different, right? So for those of you going to do an accounting degree, don't stress, go do it, okay? It's just that the job you get after your degree is going to be very different than what it is today. So why these roles? Well, if your work involves just analyzing data, is all repetitive, well, of course, you can automate that, right? But if it needs experience, human judgment, you've got to walk around on stage and give presentations, it's very unlikely you're going to get replaced, right? So, if you need to constantly adapt and bring in the human element to it, like the nurses, like the childcare workers, right? These are jobs that is very, very hard to automate. And the other thing is, it's really not about losing jobs. As Chaminda mentioned, the first industrial revolution, of course, jobs were lost, but way more jobs were gained because of it. The steam engine created way more jobs than were lost. And AI and this disruption of technology is really no different. So the question here is, and that's part of this conversation we're having right now is, are you prepared for that? How do you get yourself ready for that? Okay? Okay, so let's move into it. How do you prepare for shift? Well, I think fundamentally, as Chaminda also mentioned, education is absolutely the key at all levels. Whether it be you're in your current job, you're ready for disruption, you reskill yourself, or you're looking to move into a degree, school, primary school, how do we shift education to prepare our future workforce? That's a real question which we're start thinking about. How do we bring the human element in? For countries and nations, we've got to reskill the labor market. The labor market is slowly, gradually disappearing. How do we reskill that? Especially in countries like Sri Lanka. Right? The textile industry, the sewing machines, is still a very big part of this nation. That can be automated. When I should say perhaps, it gets automated, what do we do? How do we reskill this workforce, right? Things we've got to really think about. But let me just point out three points here. Here's my kids. I have twin girls. They're 4.5 years old now. Okay, and they, for me as an educator, they are what keep me at night. Not just because they come to bed and wake me up, but it makes me think about how should I disrupt education for them? Because really, when you have kids, you know this, right? That's your life. So everything I do right now is about changing the education sector, especially in Australia, at RMIT, where I have direct influence, is preparing these guys for the future. The way we deliver, the lecture model is dead. It is, right? The 2 hours sitting there, and we don't need that anymore. Education providers are no longer about content providers. It's about content facilitation, and we are moving that way. Hybridized skills are very, very, very important, right? In Sri Lanka and Chaminda and I, we both said, we've been through the education system here. I was more fortunate to go to St. Peter's, unlike Chaminda went to Royal, but still okay. But in our education system, we're so focused on these technical skills, right? Numeracy, literacy, if you're doing science, it's your science. If you're going to be a doctor, you do your doctor thing. If you're going to be an accountant, you do your accountant thing. We spend less time on the human element. We've got to change that. We've got to change that ground up. We're changing the higher education sector, but we should look at it right through, right? Lifelong learners, which I'm talking about already, working with machines and social awareness. And social awareness is very, very important in this day and age where, you always think about creating products, making money. Why don't we do that and also help everybody else? Right? In healthcare, in agriculture, that's bread and butter for most people here, right? The farmers, how do we help them? Why don't we create a whole industry around it? Education, we say it's key, but how do I take education to the rural sectors where there's no access to education? Can I use technology? Absolutely can. And how do we do that? The environment, we talked about the Terminator destroying the Earth. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm not worried about the robot destroying the Earth. I'm worried about us destroying the Earth. Humans are doing a great job at it so far. How can we use technology to disrupt that and change and reverse this if we can? How do we address this? Poverty, the income inequality. It's rising. And if you're not careful, that gap's going to spread. So you've got to be aware of these as we get ready and move with shift. Speaking of which, and Chaminda alluded to this with creativity, and I always say, dream a little. In today's day and age, we're so caught up. Even children today, you go to school, then you go to some class, swimming class, tennis class, everything, right? At work, we're so obsessed with meeting those KPIs. We don't take time to dream, and that's a real shame, right? Because think about the great kings of the past, right here. Those irrigation systems that our great kings created, that even modern day scientists can't figure out. That all happened because they had a vision and dream of how to implement this, right? The computer, the Mac, the Windows, even this guy, he came about through a dream of James Cameron's, right? That's how the Terminator came about. So take time to dream a little. Hey, who's this guy? But you know, all the changes, the disruption I'm bringing at RMIT as well is because I have a vision for where I want to take this, right? So my take-home message to you, as I wrap up, is, you know, dare to dream. Have a dream. Don't be afraid. Embrace technology, because no matter how you try to achieve your dreams, your vision, technology is going to play a big part of that. So embrace it. Don't run away with it. Embrace it. Think about how it can help you get to your dreams. Be stubborn with your dream, because you're going to fail. You're bound to fail. We all fail, right? And it's okay. It's okay. But be stubborn with your dream. That said, you should always be flexible and be able to adapt in how you achieve those dreams, right? Because one thing's for sure, shift happens, right? And when the shift happens, will you wait for it or will you define it? Thank you.